So at the bottom left of your screen.
Too many buttons.
There, you're unmuted.
I had to go old school.
Really? I was going to say, are you already going to start giving the software crap?
I am. I am. I'm going to start right now.
That's way too on point and way too early. It's just noon, so we'll wait for some people to pile in here.
It's 9 o'clock. What are you saying? It's noon. It's 9. I'm still on my second cup of coffee.
Oh, well, I had my I don't even drink coffee anymore. And ever since now, like 2 or 3 days, I've started getting new vices in my life. So I've now started drinking like cappuccino, like Nespressos at home.
Nice.
But I realized that I'm actually drinking them like coffee, so I like do doubles. Listen, I'm getting 5 hours of sleep a night at this point, and I don't know why my body just won't let me go to sleep until like 2 a.m. and won't let me sleep past like 7 or 8. So it's
wow.
Yeah. So I'm just, who cares? It's quarantine time.
Yeah. Everything's different. We're all going to be so screwed up when we go back to normal. It's not even going to be funny.
I'm glad you put normal in quotes because I don't know what the hell that is. And I can tell you one thing, you're not going to find it on this show.
No, never with you.
No, not at all. We're actually waiting on Pat. He should be here shortly. Sweet. And looks like we've got some of our trusted companions here. I see you, Merch. I see you, Ryan. Thanks for joining us, guys. Rooney's listening in. Charles for the first time, I think. So very excited to have you listening in. Aaron and Chelsea, thanks for joining us. Lee, wow, there you go. That's a name I like to see. So as I'll say always, there you go. Cool. Good to see you, Lee. As I'll say always, do me a favor, guys, just keep yourselves on mute. And feel free to show your cameras. It also helps when we want to ask questions because then you can like raise your hand and I'll be like, I see you. And we're going to give it like 1 or 2 more minutes for people to pile in here. Don't worry. This is the stuff we usually cut out of the recordings anyway. And then we will kick this thing off. Z just showed up. Awesome. Z's actually our guest on Monday. So
awesome.
Very cool. Whoops, we already got the chat going. Already got the chat going. Hi. There you go. Yeah, this is why like I need Reinhart 2 with me because I'm very bad at the multi-screen doing this, having a chat going. Like this I already have enough ADD. Trying to keep focus is like this is a bad thing. Ashley's here. Very cool. By the way, it's really funny. I end up getting stats on these like meetings, right? Because they treat them like meetings because they're not actually a webinar. And Lee is now upside down.
He's spinning.
I get these stats and you'll see people that like jump on for a minute or 2 minutes and then they jump off and it's like either they just really don't like what we're saying, they don't like my face, or they have real technical issues. I'm going to hope it's a third, but like, I don't know. Mr. Reinhart, thanks for joining. Okay, now he's just making a face. Yeah, the connection to audio thing is becoming an issue today. I don't know why. Everyone seems to be having some slight issues connecting to audio.
I think with all the crap that
you're muted out, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, everyone.
Cool. Well, we're about 4 minutes in, so I think we're done for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Very much appreciated it. We'll see you next time. So thank you all so much for joining us for Search from Home. I'm Stephan Bajaio of Conductor. As usual, I have Mr. Patrick Reinhart, in this case, down here on my screen, but
you're over here.
Got it.
To my right.
At some point, we'll figure out how Zoom does this, but maybe we'll get someone from Zoom to actually come in for one of these things.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
To my left, our esteemed guest and panelist today, Allie Harris, who goes by Allison Harris in case you're looking her up in LinkedIn, but she does go by Allie. Formerly of Bitdefender, awesome software company, tremendous background in B2B software, and SEO. So we were so happy to get a chance to grab her time as she was in her home, like the rest of us, and have her join us for Search from Home today. So thank you all for joining us on a Friday. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy
Friday.
Sweet. Like I said, Fridays look like Saturdays, and they also look like Thursdays. I don't know. How are you doing, Allie? Where are you based out of? You're on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
So what's Vegas like right now? Give us a sense of that.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah, because
It's
no one's from there.
absolutely a ghost town. A lot of people from here, but all in hospitality. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point. So anyone who is from there is actually in the hospitality industry, and that is pretty much decimated right now. So what is happening?
Is everything closed? Like, is everything completely closed?
well, the casinos are. So they were actually the first to close. Anything that was gaming focused was the first to close because people touch stuff, right?
Yep.
So you got slot machines, you got cards. There aren't sanitation practices for cards.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you'd sanitize a deck of cards except for throw them away. So the casinos closed first, and that obviously closed the strip. Restaurants are open. We actually have a really great restaurant community here that's off the strip. So our restaurants are pretty much open. They're trying to preserve their existence right now. I've actually been doing some work with a company called it'son.me. They're a digital gift card company. They're good anywhere in the world. If you know any restaurants or businesses that need to set up gift cards, I highly recommend them. Great company. You don't need a POC instance to implement them. It's all done through apps and all digital.
Interesting. So we'll be sure to, I want to make sure we put that in the LinkedIn group. So Allie, let's just make a point later. I know you're in that group too.
Yep.
To drop some info in around that later, just because that group is growing. Thank you all for actually listening and actually taking action. Like by joining our LinkedIn group, that's phenomenal because people are starting to. Padmore put something very cool this morning. So Dan Padmore from earlier in the week, who was one of our guests, put in a very interesting, I guess it's a white paper on the way people were shopping in Amazon. I like the way they position things. I'm not sure if anyone got a chance to click through that. So great stuff that people are actually sourcing and putting in there and ways to help. So thanks so much, Allie. I definitely want to see that. So then how are you doing? What's happening like in regards to your life? How are you dealing with all this change?
You know, I'm one of those obnoxious people that you see posting on Facebook where this is my life. I didn't realize my life was called quarantine. But apparently that is my existence. Before all of this happened, the only thing different now is that my husband and my daughter are home. But they stay on the other side of the house. So really nothing's changed except for there are more dishes and my coffee seems to disappear faster.
Got it. So.
Yeah, my youngest son, Declan, has been joining meetings like every day. He just jumps in my lap and sits and waves.
That's so cool.
And it's just like he was just like right before this, I was on me. He just jumped in. I'm like, this is just my life now. I was like, I'm sitting in my spare bedroom. Like I can't stop him. He's 3. He's it's not like he's doing virtual classroom or anything like that. So we're just trying to get through all this as he gets his energy out, but he loves meeting and waving at new people.
I love the kids. I love the fact that people are working from home and I get to see their kids and their cats and their dogs and whatever other critters they have. One of the people I was chatting with earlier this week had a parrot. And
Whoa.
The parrot like wandered in the office and perched. And I'm like, cool, now we can be pirates. Let's have talk like a pirate day today.
That is honestly like that's a badass pet. Like I'm sorry to put it that way, but like
totally
if you've got like a lemur in your house or like a ferret, anybody have a ferret on the call, feel free to a porcupine. Is that what is, by the way, am I crazy?
Oh yeah, a lot of people have porcupines.
Am I crazy or did Gene from our product team have a porcupine? We have a Slack channel called Dogs of Conductor.
Aww.
And it's just where people will put pictures of their dogs. And then it's gotten to the point now where like
it's just animals.
Dog envy, where people are like putting just cute dog photos up.
Oh.
But then
I
there's
think
also
Gene has a
random pets.
hedgehog.
It's a hedgehog, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah,
I'd say a hedgehog's a lot. I think a hedgehog would be easier to keep
they're
than a
smaller.
porcupine.
I think hedgehogs only get like this big at biggest, but porcupines can be pretty huge.
But hedgehogs are also still spiky and hurt you?
Yes,
But they're so cute.
they are.
I know that when they spin, they can get the coins. I know that. But
I was waiting for the Sonic.
they wear
I was
cool. They
waiting
wear
for
cool
it.
sneakers. That's all I know about
Huzzah.
hedgehogs.
Yeah, so those have been the big changes for me. Is I love getting to know people on the calls, and when they're not in a corporate environment, it's so much cooler.
Yeah.
Like
No,
it's so much cooler. So
But,
much more of the personality comes out.
Yeah, and I think it's going to break down a lot of that, like, I don't know, like corporate PC stuff after this. You know what I mean? Like before, listen, I work from home every Friday, and Declan has been jumping on my lap for, 2 years now, just to kind of sit with me. But like even these days, like I've been with so many folks who I've had a ton of meetings with over the years who would never, you would never think, because they're sitting there just in their, they're at their office and they're doing whatever. But, I, like you said before, Allie, like I like seeing kids running around and like hearing screams in the back,
I think it's awesome. I feel so bad when people feel the need to apologize for it. I'm like,
yeah, I know.
This is not working from home. This is crisis working.
Yeah.
This is a whole different ball game.
We're also week 3 in. If you haven't figured out that this is now norm, just like turning your camera on is in a meeting or like some stuff like that, or like it's and that's not a judgment on all of you guys who are marketing voyeurs right now watching this, refusing to put your cameras on. But I do love it when this screen like lights up with everyone's faces watching, because people are engaged. Look at this.
There we go. You shaming
merch always makes it in, and there's the cat.
Oh, there's the cat.
Merch's cat's butts drive me nuts. He has like multiple cats, and they love to jump into the scene. So always a fun time. Great to see you, Merch. Sean, good to see you as well. Allie, give us some background for folks who don't know you about yourself, kind of your background.
There are people on this call that don't know me?
Well, there are some people. There's a few. There's a few. Give people some background on you, and then we can hop in and talk. Let's talk tech. Let's talk software.
Sure.
Let's talk what the heck is going on.
All right. So I'm Allie Harris. As Stephan mentioned earlier, it's Allison Harris on LinkedIn. There's a reason for that. I have a very good friend on LinkedIn. His name is also Allie Harris. He is a very nice man. He lives in the San Francisco Bay Area where I used to live, and he is in charge of digital marketing for Macy's.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. So in order to eliminate some of the cross-pollination of messages, when I got married, I realized that I changed my name to his name, and it got a little confusing. We've been friends for a long time. So I started getting his messages, and he started getting my messages, because people don't really know who they're talking to when they're doing outreach. So they see Allie Harris, they see digital marketing, and it got a little weird. So that is why my name changed to Allison on LinkedIn, was to eliminate some confusion for my friend and me.
Nice.
So my background is the last 15 years, digital marketing, SEO is where I started. It's still my biggest passion. I love the psychology behind it. Most recently, I was the head of digital marketing for Bitdefender, who's a Romanian cybersecurity company. Due to everything that happened with travel restrictions, it's pretty tough for me to get to Romania. So my team is now running independently without me. I'm very proud of them. I had a team of 11 direct reports with 47 total, built from zero when I started with them. Now I'm doing some really fun contract work, working on brand development with some startup companies. It's been a lot of fun. Doing a little bit of goofy work with Conductor that I'm rather enjoying right now. Putting together how an agency would use Conductor and how an SMB could use Conductor, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. May or may not go anywhere, but it's been a riot for me. So thank you to the team for giving me the freedom to do this. It's been a ton of fun.
Nice. We love having you. So that's
absolutely
awesome. So let me ask you. Okay, let's hop into let's start with the startup.
Yes.
Startup, right? Maybe
start with startup.
It's a little meta, but it's the beginning, right? So startup in this environment, the startup you're working with existed prior, I'm assuming, to COVID,
Yes.
and is not related to,
No.
and is thriving, not thriving, is one of those like where in the kind of world of potential offering do they sit in
So
terms of like
there's
validity?
actually 3 companies I'm working with right now.
Cool.
One is thriving. One is trying really hard to stay above water. And the other one is on the hockey stick upswing.
Wow. So you got you got basically everything.
I got everything. One is an agency. They're pretty cool. They're called Dito, DITO, and they are an agency that actually specializes in helping companies, small businesses especially, move to the Google Cloud.
Oh, cool.
So
Cool.
they're all about the migration, using different SaaS products, using different PaaS products to help companies that are smaller and don't necessarily have their own infrastructure make a smart move in a secure way to the cloud. The security is a big thing. We know Zoom's having some security challenges.
Mm-hmm.
We know a lot of the fintech companies, when they did their layoffs, one of the first teams to go was their security teams. Oops.
Yeah, that
So
seems weird to me. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
it's an odd decision.
I think it's ROI driven and not thought about. They're like, oh, this team doesn't actually drive revenue. Let's get rid of them. It's kind of like getting rid of everybody but your network team, right? Like, do I really need the guys in IT that provide desktop support right now? You're like, well, yeah, everyone's at home. You really need them.
Yeah.
So I don't really know why that decision's being made, but I've seen it fairly ubiquitously across the board, especially on the security LinkedIn groups I'm in. If anybody's looking for a CISO right now, they're pretty available. But it's been kind of a strange move. It's on me is I'm advising them. They're growing like mad. Again, digital gift cards, it's ridiculously huge. They wanted me to do marketing for them, and I'm just like, you guys don't need me right now. You need like client success folks and people like that. When the demand dies down again, let's really put in the marketing efforts, especially with the success that they've had. So they're doing really well. And then the third one, Truefort, they're trying. It's an app security company. They focus on fintech, so it's been a challenge. The interesting part with them is the solution that they provide is actually perfect for this environment. The challenge, again, is with companies cutting their budgets and being really careful only to do ROI-driven activities, you're kind of in this quicksand spot. I need you and I want you, but is this a good investment?
right.
And I'm seeing a lot of companies like that, right? A lot of the SaaS companies out there are in that weird position of this is the right time to do an investment of something complicated like a Visible or a Path Factory. But do we really want to invest our liquidity into one of these products, one of these solutions?
Yeah, I think that probably leads to the concept or the very frustrating aspect that is also a common theme here for all of us, which is there's no freaking end date, right?
Right.
We knew this was all going to end in 3 months, and we knew for a fact it would end in 3 months. And like I've said before, it's the light at the end of the tunnel, not a bear holding a lantern. We obviously know then, like, okay, I have 3 months, and if I've got like if the security team, for example, hasn't done ISO certification, then like this might actually be the right time to do that, right? You know, like we could go for that certification, or we could take those particular steps as long as we're allowed to. I mean, I don't know what the specific. I will caveat that I'm not a security expert by any means, so.
They could take their CISP, which is a baseline certification, or everybody on this call, if you get the chance, take your certified ethical hacker class. It's free.
Really?
Yeah, do a certified ethical hacker. They're free. You can get them on Udemy. You can get them on any of the educational sites. They are so cool.
Oh, we definitely have to post that in the LinkedIn group. That's too cool. We should all kind of get that.
Everybody should be a certified ethical hacker. It just teaches you the basics. Like, how does somebody use a script in order to install a key logging software?
Interesting. Okay.
How do you do a fileless attack? And it's cool for two reasons. One is new information's always awesome. I love learning shit. The second part is you can start looking at your emails a little bit differently. Right now, for example, there is so much ransomware rolling around, and there are so many people trying to get bank account information. It's a scary time, and you're getting emails from people you haven't heard from in like 15 years, right?
Yep,
Exactly.
There are companies like, forget COPA, forget GDPR. We're like sending emails to this dead email list, and we're going to buy email lists from 30 years ago. And who cares that it's all AOL emails? Somebody will click on it.
Sue me. There won't even be lawyers left by the time we're done with this. Yoo-hoo!
So like, it's kind of a wild west right now.
Yeah.
And you need to know what to look for. I've been getting so many emails on my like defunct Yahoo email address for buying insurance really cheap in the US. And I'm like, that would be a brilliant scam if I would click on it.
Yeah, no,
it's great.
It makes sense.
It's got like the White House header. It's got everything. I'm like, all right, people with Yahoo addresses, we know what your market is right there.
Yeah.
We know your demographic.
Yeah, that's for sure. Listen, I still have my old AOL accounts, and it's very interesting to see who still has access to those from a marketing perspective. And as much as I used to use them for spam, I would unsubscribe to the point that like I got that down to a very manageable number. But now it's just like, now I know these are companies I dealt with, but they were companies I dealt with 15 to 20 years ago, like you said. Like any doctor I've ever been to, like I think I went to an acupuncturist like literally 15 years ago, and somehow I was on his list, and now I'm getting stuff from an acupuncturist about COVID who was like in a different state from me. Just random stuff that's just like completely and utterly erroneous. So it is kind of making like, and that's a good point on a marketing front. Email seems to be the go-to in this crisis right now, but email is now, I would be very interested to see what stats are on open rates as well as just like actionable rates or click-through, because I don't know about you guys, I have very little tolerance for email right now. Like if it's not definitively from a source I know, there's a much higher probability than usual that I'm going to delete that thing stupid quick. Like I won't
Sorry,
even.
Lee's daughter is
yeah,
so
Lee's
cute.
daughter's in the photo.
I totally have no idea what you're saying right now.
Don't worry, it wasn't important as usual.
No,
back to the regularly scheduled program.
Too. I think it'll be really fun when HubSpot and MailChimp and all of these other tools come out with, what was the COVID analytics? What were the COVID stats? And that's going into kind of some of the SaaS-based programs that we all rely on, and the PaaS-based programs that we're relying on right now that we already had incumbent. One of the things I always look at is, what did they do with our info? What is being done with these analytics and this data? And as normalized as some of it is, HubSpot, MailChimp, Google Analytics, even Conductor to a degree, you guys have so much of our data sitting in your systems, and what you're doing with it should really be a huge consideration in choosing a vendor.
Sure.
And selecting somebody that you're going to do business with, because it's kind of intimidating. I know what data Conductor has on the competitors I'm looking at because it's showing up, right? So, and I know what data they have on me because it shows up and it renders. So how much data is in there? What's being done with it? How is it being protected? All that information is so interesting.
Yep. And as for us, I won't give all the specifics, but I will say, like, we do keep our stuff pretty damn tight. And a lot of the interesting stuff about what we do, which is kind of cool, is we're dealing mostly, unless someone obviously is giving us access to their analytics, publicly available data, right? And so essentially we're more like a throughput to getting to the data that you already had in GA or Adobe or something like that. So we're not actually creating the data, we're amassing the data and allowing it to be rendered in ways in which you want. So I know there's a fine line there, but I know that we've done a fairly good job in regards to that, which makes me happy. And security is still like paramount, which is what surprises me about what you were saying, which is you would think that okay, unless you think your business is going to disappear, why would you get rid of fundamental things like security? Because the second you have a security breach, but the second you have a security breach, your business is done. Game over in this environment. No one is going to, with alternate choices, unless you are literally the only product on the market, if you have a security breach at a time and place where, let's be honest, if as many people are getting sick as they're saying, then let's also kind of take that further and further out. People are getting sick, or people know are getting sick. People's family members are getting sick. People are potentially passing away. This will all have a psychological and a disruption factor, no matter how you cut it, to work. Sucks, but it's the truth, right? If one of our, God forbid, coworkers was to pass away, it'd be really hard to get on the show and start talking about search. Just being frank.
Couldn't.
Right. Okay.
We're human.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be insensitive, but also it just wouldn't feel right, and I wouldn't be in the headspace to do it. Right. So think about that in terms of our folks defending us in the cybersecurity world versus hackers. And the fact that just like the police department that has in New York City has a number of people that are out sick right now, and that number has been growing and growing. Unfortunately, Lee, who lives in my neighborhood, probably has the Citizen app like I do, and has been noticing more and more little muggings and things in broad daylight that are happening in my very okay neighborhood normally, but all of a sudden these things are starting to become more habitual. Now let's take that and move that to the digital space and say, might we see more hacker attacks while less people are on the job to track and make sure the stuff is actually being defended?
And more people are working from home, so they have vulnerable systems, right? Your laptop at home is not on your VPN at work. And a lot of people aren't even logging into their VPNs.
Right.
So now all of a sudden their passwords are exposed. Their passwords that suck anyway, that they're reusing on internal systems, are exposed. You're receiving more emails from your executive leadership team, so it's easier to put a spoofed email out there for people to grab. To your point, it's much, much easier. There's huge vulnerability. One of the reasons I see people getting rid of their teams is because they think that products or tools can replace what those teams were doing. They're looking at the application security tools. They're looking at Trend, who's putting out all this info on, oh, we've got you covered, don't worry about it, go to the Bahamas and take a vacation. This stuff doesn't react in the heat. So we're getting a lot of that, and we're not looking at the fact that all of this has to be implemented. All of it has to be maintained. The hackers right now are focused on healthcare because it's the easiest low-hanging fruit. But next it's going to be utilities. And what happens, when the power grid goes out, obviously they don't want the whole grid to go out unless they're trying to just kill us, because then they don't have access to our banking data. But when you're going through all of these scenarios, it's terrifying. And I think there's a lot of leadership out there right now that's just looking at, I need money, I need cash in hand to pay for healthcare. I furloughed my entire team. I just need to pay for their healthcare. I need them to get through. We're seeing all of these companies where the executives are giving up their pay so that they can keep their line workers, in effect, employed. And they're hoping that the free tools that Trend, Bitdefender, McAfee are putting out are going to cover the gaps. And it's just to the point of the police. It's like putting out the RoboCops that they were testing in Mountain View that run into each other. It's like running those all over the place, right?
By the way, I'm sorry. Today is a very 80s day for me. I've been forwarding 80s comic theme intros to Pat on Slack for a good portion of the day. It's what I do on Fridays.
It's been a great morning. Very, very active morning for Stephan. So first we got the Mr. T cartoon, theme. Then we had the mask, the intro. I don't know if anyone remembers mask, and then the Voltron intro. So that's
nice.
And the reason I'm tying that back, the reason I'm bringing that all back to what I was saying was your RoboCop reference.
Yeah.
My brain went to, well, that's cool because he's half dead but half bionic, and he drives a Ford Taurus, which was the original guy. Not until we've had these crazy remakes. So so when I thought RoboCop, I was thinking and these little things rolling around bumping into each other. But you're absolutely right. We got less cops out physical world and in the digital world. So cybersecurity is probably more important than it ever has been in this time. And I think that's what we kind of have to also think about from a continuity of business perspective. All of us, just bringing this back to marketing and SEO and all of that as well, is we have to think about who and what is going to be impacted by this in its totality, right? And the people that you rely on in your business may not be reliable for a little while. And that's human, and that's going to be okay, right? So how do we work around that? Are our businesses thinking of ways we can augment, or we can teach each other? We can take the time to figure out redundancies, which redundancies in this time and place are a good thing, right?
Yeah.
We were always taught redundancy is negative, right? Everyone's silos, stay in your silos, don't talk across silos. That's not good. Like, we need to be in a place where there's, to your point, the ethical hacking aspect. We need an egalitarian level of understanding of some of the things that are fundamental to our business, because you may be in charge of some aspect of that for a little while, even though you normally wouldn't be.
Right.
Much like in a hospital, a janitor, while they're not going to be hopefully the one intubating you, may be the one. And it's interesting. I read an article about people who are actually cleaning hospitals and what they're going through, and medical, in terms of that. And they're having to step up and do things they wouldn't normally do. And that's just part of the world.
Well, and to the janitor analogy, right? The janitors are responsible for the majority of the safety and cleanliness of the hospitals.
True.
Our employees are responsible for the safety and cleanliness of their interactions on their systems that are connecting with our broader corporate networks. So are they using trusted applications? Are we using Clorox and not some homeopathic herbal essence stuff in order to get rid of bacteria and viral leavings? Are we being smart about what programs we're using, what websites we're going to, what we're visiting? Are we being thorough and making sure that we're not opening attachments that are unknown and mysterious?
Yep.
And it's hard for a lot of teams. HR teams have it the worst right now. Thousands upon thousands of emails getting sent to them with attachments, with resumes, and some companies still hiring, and they're working on their home network that's not secured and forwarding these resumes that have macros enabled, and God knows what kind of keyloggers are in those. And they're not thinking about that. So to your point, everybody's got to think about all the different pieces. Is what I'm doing right now smart? Is this a trusted company? Even Zoom is having issues with malware. Yeah. Zoom has long been recognized as malware by cybersecurity companies. Same thing with Bitly. Most Bitlys are flagged as viruses or malware by cybersecurity companies because it's so easy to infect people with it.
I guess now's the time in the show that we tell everyone that for $599, you'll be able to get access to your inbox again, based on the fact that you all registered using a Bitly and you're on a Zoom now. So congratulations, folks.
And Bitcoin, please. Bitcoin. Only.
Yes, only in Bitcoin. Actually, I want to caveat that and say all forms of cryptocurrency are allowable.
50-50 on
I only accept Ethereum
right now.
So hold on a second.
I'll also take toilet paper.
Yes, actually, if you have a square, if anyone has a square to spare, please send it. I'll send my address. Unused, please. So let me ask you this, Ali. You talked about a gift card company. So how come gift card companies are becoming like the thing right now? Give us a little bit of insight on that.
So I think there's a couple reasons. One is people want to help. And
okay, so it's more philanthropic than anything.
Right. A way for people to help from home is I love company X or restaurant, bar. I have my personal obsession is this company called Addict Salt. which is basically like Hot Topic for grown-ups. It has all of like the stupid little books. I got my mom a cannabis cookbook from there for Christmas. And it's got the dumb socks that, you know, like, if you can read this, bring me wine, stuff like that.
So is this like Spencer Gifty? Is that what we're getting at? Like,
kind of, only less adulty stuff, more like goofy nerd adult stuff.
Okay, and less blacklight, I'm assuming.
A lot less blacklight because you don't have to worry about the corners at Axel.
Got it.
But you know, they've got like, they have a coffee mug that I took a picture of and sent to my husband, and it said, "If I were married to me, I'd be the happiest husband ever." So like, I love this store, right? And I want to make sure that they survive through the shutdown, and they're also doing, it's a small chain, and they're also paying their cashiers right now. And I want to make sure that they survive. And so I can buy, you know, a $300 gift card for Adexalt and give them that revenue stream up front.
Sure.
And then go redeem it later. Same thing with restaurants and bars. One of the cool things I've learned, I knew nothing about bars, restaurants, except for I enjoyed them until working with these guys. And they're all Vegas hardcore restaurateur guys. But one of the things I learned about gift cards is, with a gift card, you can actually triple the cost of your cover with a gift card. So if somebody comes in with a $50 gift card, they end up spending on average $200.
Wow.
Right?
Do you think that's just a restaurant thing, or do you guys think that do you think that actually applies in the e-com world and everything else?
We've noticed it most in restaurants because that's where we focus, but I have a feeling it's fairly ubiquitous across the board, because you're also going into a place, right? The digital gift cards, the cool thing about It's On Me is you can only redeem them in the physical location. So you're driving traffic and spontaneity. It's much easier to be in a box and focused. I've got a $50 Amazon gift card. These headphones are $49.99. I'm only buying that. I'm not going to be spontaneous. I didn't see the crazy "you're lucky to be married to me" coffee cup while I was cruising Amazon for this set of headphones.
Right.
So it creates that. There's another thing about the bars. It's an expression I really like. And I think of every time I have a drink. It's, you have the first drink and then your drink has a drink, right? So if you buy a drink, you have to have a second drink because you bought yourself the first drink. Now your drink needs a drink. And when you're 6 drinks in, that
logic makes a lot of sense when you're 6 drinks in. Look at all my friends and look how many drinks they bought.
Right?
Now, why am I seeing twice as many as they're sitting in front of me?
That's a dangerous analogy right there.
That's very like that logic. That logic can be applied in so many dangerous ways.
But it's cool. But it's cool because that company is driving foot traffic. Because, like you said,
right.
If I go into a bar, to your point, like I use a gift card at a bar and I buy a drink. Like, there is a 99.9% chance I'm buying 2 or 3, which helps that bar out.
There's a 100% chance I turn that into a joke. Pat walks into a bar.
Yeah.
Anyways, you were saying, Allie.
And well, the other cool thing is with the It's On Me piece is they can actually target specific promotions. So birthday specials are really great for push notifications. The fact that people don't have to register the cards is kind of cool. They go to their phone, so the only PII data we have is a phone number, which isn't PII. Yay. And then the other thing is it works with loyalty programs. So we have a chain of bars down here called PTs. And right now they're sort of open. Some of them are open for carryout. But the cool thing is they could send me a promo after all this is done and say, hey, this has sucked. Come get Deep Eddies on me. And the only time the PTs has to pay for that is if I redeem it. It's like a coupon rather than a gift card. But I'm not only getting that one drink. You know, I'm going to get that, and I've missed them a lot, so I'm going to get my Angry Burger, which has the jalapeno bacon on it, because I love that stuff. And, you know, and then I'm going to have to get another drink because the jalapeno was spicy. So now for a 25-cent or 50-cent pour, I've also bought another drink, which is $6, plus I bought a $12 hamburger.
Interesting.
So it's a really interesting revenue model and revenue stream. And I actually think it's something.
Sorry,
What's that?
Are they incentivizing it? In other words, are you finding a lot of them are saying like 10% more, like you'll get 10% more by buying a card, or are people just straight up paying for them irrespective?
People are straight up paying for them.
Okay, so it's not, there's no need for incentivizing. You know, you buy 100, but you're getting $110 worth.
No, what we found are that people really, really, really want to support their restaurants right now.
Got it.
So what the guys at It's On Me have actually done is they're waiving any setup fees. So the first $3,000 in card sales and redemptions that you get are free, no fee. So it's 100% revenue to these restaurants.
That's awesome.
And then after that, it's like 2%. So it's not a huge fee. Because there's also no plastic, so you aren't paying for it, you aren't holding them. The nice thing about gift cards too is they hold their value forever. Based on the federal guidelines, gift cards never expire. So when we're doing some marketing efforts after all of this has passed, one of the things that we're going to be doing is setting up campaigns for these coupon promotions, because those can expire. So we can drive people in based on the same technology. But again, getting people back into physical locations using a platform as a service. I mean, that's really what we're doing, is we're taking a platform as a service and driving people into physical locations, which is really cool. And something I never thought I would be involved in, but this is
it's funny. It's
weird
like,
thing ever.
It's click to brick. It's click to brick.
Yeah,
I mean, you're reversing it, right? And
I am, and it's so fun. Cool. It's the exact opposite of what I've spent 15 years doing. Yeah. Like, how do we get people online? Now I'm like, how do we get people in the stores? And it's really messing with my head.
I love that concept.
How do businesses sign up for it? Do they, like, how do you get your business listed on this site or work with this?
You just log on.
You just log on?
You just log on and it'll say, you know, enroll to get started. And then one of the client success guys will call you up and get you situated. And then you can, you know, it's a really small widget that gets put on your website or your Yelp page or your Facebook page. You can do one of the three or all three.
So let's move to more software in general. What are the trends you're seeing? Like, I know obviously security software is an issue, and obviously video software is something that's blowing up. What are you seeing out there in the software space, especially B2B, as like the must-haves versus the forgotten abouts? So I think we've kind of talked about forgotten abouts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think the must-haves are right now? Like the ones that are all flying off the shelf, proverbial shelf, so to speak, where like all of a sudden companies are just forced into having to look at these things that they never really looked at before.
Payroll software.
How come?
A lot of people, a lot of businesses, especially non-tech businesses, have been printing checks still. They still don't do direct deposit. They aren't doing their HR and their payroll in an automated fashion. It's all old school, especially smaller companies. So I've been seeing a bigger uptick, especially in, you know, payroll software, accounting software. The search volumes are going up, which is really cool. And then companies like ADP are getting slammed because they're not nice to deal with. And the nice factor is something that I've noticed with at least the conversations happening online. People don't want to deal with assholes anymore. They've reached their threshold, and now that people are at home, there's a lower tolerance for dealing with somebody that's rude. You know, you're really having to be kind, create a relationship, prove value. And a company like, you know, ADP, they've been around forever, and everybody knows them, but companies like Workday, companies like TriNet, all of these guys, even like Prism HR, a little tiny East Coast company, they're able to get in there now that ADP has gone down 3 times. You know, and they're able to get in there now that it takes an hour and a half at my little Vegas bank branch location. It's an hour and a half if I need to go into the bank.
Wow.
And I have to sit in my car in the parking lot and wait for them to call me so I can go deposit a check.
How hot is it in Vegas right now?
Oh, today is gorgeous. It's 75.
Oh.
It's
So
sunny.
this
We
is
have a
okay
nice
now.
breeze.
Your car, I'm not feeling so bad for you about your car, but I am going to feel bad for you when this is the case in June.
Right, when it's
That would
115
that's
out.
going to be a serious problem.
Yeah, and you're making old people wait in line because old people get paper checks. Like, a lot of these processes have to change. And so I'm seeing the payroll software thing change.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, especially here in Vegas, there have been a lot of questions on our local forums about it. How do I pay my employees when I don't hand them the check?
Oh, wow. So this is very much like, I mean, I hate to say this, now that you're all becoming ethical hackers, you're not allowed to use this against me. But yeah, my parents are still the ones who, and hey, mom and dad, in case you're listening, they've threatened to actually call in, which is scary.
They should. That'd be so
no,
cool.
no.
Yes.
Allie.
Ooh,
and
let's have a
thanks for
Friday
having
with
Allie.
them.
This will be the last time you're on the show. But they still send their checks in, and I argue with them probably once a month about this. They still send their checks in by mail to the credit card company. And for anyone else who's like, oh my God, yeah, I mean, it's like, and they do that out of fear of identity fraud. And I'm just like.
So I have a funny tangent real quick. Speaking of sending checks in, Las Vegas is one of the biggest credit card payment centers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't send your checks into Las Vegas because in the 50s, people were freaking out about, in the 60s, freaking out about sending their checks into Las Vegas.
Huh.
So I actually live in an area called Spring Valley. And it was renamed because we have one of the big credit card processing centers. So people send their checks to Spring Valley. I'm right in the middle of Vegas, by the way. But I'm technically Spring Valley.
That's so funny because I could have sworn back in the day I've seen that name Spring Valley show up, and it might have been from a credit card company. So that makes a lot of sense, and it's a very cool little tidbit of
little Vegas history.
I think that's a great trivia pub night thing. So you all can thank Allie for that one.
Yep. There's Spring
Or if
Valley,
they
and we
ask
also
you
have the lakes.
Or if they can ask you, what curmudgeon-y thing does, Stephan's parents do, then there you go. You guys have the answer to that too. So, okay, payroll software. Anything else that's surprising you in this environment that like you feel like you could just give some insights?
That's been the big one. There is one other one that I've seen. Have you guys heard of a company called Cornerstone?
I haven't.
No.
Okay. Interesting company. So Cornerstone is an internal education tool and dashboard company that provides like the organized training for companies internally. And it's often white labeled, which is why you've probably never heard of it. But when somebody's going through their onboarding process, or when they're going through an offboarding process or some sort of ongoing internal education, they often use Cornerstone. And Cornerstone, exactly what the name implies, they provide the foundational efforts of your training programs. And I've seen a lot of companies who are trying to keep their employees busy and engaged and updated, instead of using Zoom, are trying to build these bespoke training programs, especially companies like eBay, PayPal, Microsoft. They're really turning to these bigger tools to do internal training. So that one's been kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I could see how that would
and
be.
that's a platform as a service because of how much more you control it. But that one's been an interesting uptick.
That's that's an interesting way to keep employees engaged, right? Is to say, hey, listen, like we're all home. You all have to do this once a week or do twice.
Right, and it tracks the hours, so you know what their engagement is, and kind of like Zoom or WebEx, it actually shows you the engagement rate. So if somebody's just playing the videos in the background, like that's a no-go. They've got to have the video on the foreground and like play on their phone or something in order to get out of it. But that's what they're doing to keep people engaged and do cross training. So a lot of companies are trying to minimize their sales teams and optimize them. And so cross training is something that's I'm seeing pick up, at least if my social media barometers are correct.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how some of these. I think there's going to be. I mean, it's not really a time for mergers and acquisitions, but it's definitively a time for innovation, right? I think I've come up with like 17 different things. I don't know how Lee put the thumbs up on Zoom before, but like I could think of like 100 things I want to do with Zoom. And I know there was an update recently. I don't know if anyone just downloaded that update. I didn't actually look at what I was a very bad corporate citizen and did not actually look at the actual, what, there you go, Lee. Thank you. I did not look at these. Now I'm going to be in trouble with my IT group, but I didn't look at all the specifics of what was in there. Features and functionalities that should be in these things definitively are one. So I think there's a lot of UX UI that can come out of this experience. I don't think Zoom's ever had this many users in their wildest dreams. And I think
this variety of users.
Yes, for different purposes and needs. So the needs have now varied in the product, right? And I think we have to think of that not just for Zoom, but we have to start thinking of that across multiple products, right? A desk bought for a home is now a home office desk, whereas prior, a desk could be just another table or something else. In fact, I know people who couldn't get desks, and so they bought a table instead. So point being, I think we're starting to use things in different ways, whether they're the physical things in our home or even the software that we're depending on right now. And I find it very interesting to see, will there be disruptors in this space, right? In a downturn in an economy, you tend to see startups happening. That does happen because they can get access to talent for cheaper. They can get access to hardware and other things that go down in price. And at the same time, well, they can't always get access to money, but it depends because we could always see what's going to happen in this market.
There's $1 trillion available right now.
That's true, but it has to be associated. It has to be associated with
a business.
Yes, true. Okay.
I mean, I could be my own employee.
That's true. That's true. I think so. You're right. So there might be some time to do some disruption. The question is, are the bigger companies who are now overwhelmed with usership, are they equipped? If you're a UX person at Zoom, what the heck are you doing right now?
Like, pulling your hair out?
Yeah, you're overwhelmed. You probably don't even have the infrastructure to look at your own data, to analyze it, let alone the army of data scientists you probably need to help you figure that out, what actually is going on, right? So it's almost like, they probably can't grow fast enough to even keep up. They're more concerned about keeping the lights on. So a new player coming in here and being like, okay, the fact that Lee could give a thumbs up is one small thing. Okay, cool that we can put these virtual backgrounds on, but what if we want to step it up a notch and add this or add that? What if we want the virtual training to tie in directly into the Zoom aspect, and we want it to be collaborative? What if we want a shared whiteboard, which I've been saying on almost all of these meetings? I want a shared whiteboard. I don't want to share my screen. I want a shared whiteboard.
I would love to see the cost of smart boards come down, because how cool would it be in this situation is to have a smart board that connects to Zoom, and then we have an actual tactical kinetic whiteboard that we're all sharing and can all add to. Like
that'd be amazing.
That is my dream.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. That would be really cool.
The other one I haven't seen that I'm really surprised about is Ring Central. Where the hell are they right now?
Huh. In what context? Give it a little more.
Why is Zoom taking over, and where the hell is Ring Central? They have these collaborative instances.
They do.
They have all of the technology, including the shared whiteboard.
Interesting. So, they weren't one of my first. They're not. When I think of Ring Central, I actually don't think of them in the same way I think of Zoom, even though you're right. They do have that same technology. And when I have been doing keyword research on video sharing and collaboration software, because I think that's I know that's growing right now, and I want to watch the search volumes and understand. So I'm going non-branded and trying to look at that stuff. And I did look at Ring Central as one of the players based on, you know, asking Google what are the top market share owners. Yeah, they're oddly not in this.
Yeah, and it's just it's weird, and there's a huge market opportunity for them. I had a really strange call a couple weeks ago. I told Seth about it because it was just bizarre to me. I'm part of this group called GuidePoint, and you guys can all join it. It's like this dumb consulting group thing, but they actually do pay out. So you put in what your rate is, and my rate's really expensive. I'm like $600 an hour because I don't actually want to talk to people, but I want to be available in case somebody wants to actually talk to me. So these guys actually paid this hourly rate. It was crazy. And the call went for 63 minutes because they were late. So I got paid overtime for 3 minutes.
I was going to say, do you get a whole hour for 3 minutes?
I got 15 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Minutes.
Okay,
so that
got
was cool.
It rounds to 15. Got it.
Yeah, it ran at quarters. So that was really cool. But they were asking me about online visibility management software. Now, how long have we all been in this space? Like, for me, it's almost 20 years.
Yeah.
I've never heard that phrase, ever. I've never used that phrase. They were asking about Moz and SEMrush and the other, like, low-end tools for search. And apparently, they're calling that online visibility management software.
That is a very fancy way of saying SEO.
Right? I'm like, oh, we get a new acronym, you guys. That's been a while.
Exactly what we needed.
I want to know if there's search volume around that. Hold on.
There's not. I looked.
There can't
what
be,
happens
right?
when you look it up? Like, what's actually showing up?
Similar web showed up.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
MSV.
Yeah, no, similar web should show up for that.
Right.
It's kind of like you're kind of looking for the built width of visibility. Like, just give me the general what's out there.
Actually, it triggers scholarly articles on Google too, which is interesting. SEMrush is number one.
Yeah, Nolio. It was just weird. And SEMrush is only recently number one. Actually, since that call.
It's just so weird.
And you know what's interesting? Lee just brought up, you know, and Google being a better potential platform. I mean, they did have what we used to be called Meetup, and now Meeting and or whatever. They keep changing names, Hangouts, and I can't keep up with all the changes of names that Google does of its product lines, but and the retirement of them too. But
and wouldn't this be a perfect time to resurrect G+?
Oh, gee, there you go. Bring it. What about Google Wave? Google Wave would kill it right now.
Old school.
Ride the wave.
No, but I'm telling you, you know what would actually be really cool. You kind of got my brain going, and I know we don't have a lot of time here, folks. So I do appreciate you guys joining. And by the way, my consulting fee will be $5 because I don't actually think anyone wants to talk to me either. But I'm sure for $5, a lot of people would just call just to annoy me. And so maybe I could.
You gotta raise the bar.
I'd probably have to go like to 15 and then just like let it run, but not pay attention and be like, well, what do you expect for $15? And just let it roll. I'm going for mass, right? I'm going for every hour. If you want to hear me snore, you can call in for $5. But I'm thinking about what a whiteboard is right now, and think about some of the physical technologies that we can now replicate online in a more meaningful way. So if we were going to do our website and our web design together, all of my friends here on the call, and we were going to do SEO for it, why couldn't we start moving around elements on the actual page on the screen while we're all watching it and actually playing and designing the page together as a collaborative group? Why couldn't the whiteboard
we'd end up with like a kindergarten level website of blocks?
Because you wouldn't end up with a website, you'd end up with like a vision board.
maybe.
We'd have thumbs up and smileys.
So
and
let me pull it back from that was too practical, and let's get more to the general, which is when we're all.
Think about the group on the call too.
True, but okay, but so not everyone on this call would be there, especially not me, because I just am the idea guy. So now I leave. You guys figure out how to use it. But the question, I guess, is could we not use, instead of stick figures and things, couldn't we now start using images, things that are a little more, if we start drawing a funnel, the funnel could actually look like a funnel. The things that we would start, drawing and doing would actually be, we're doing them in a digital medium. There's got to be a better version than what I can do with a stick figure or this or that with a funnel, with my bad writing, and this and spelling would actually be correct on the whiteboard. Like, there's a lot of cool things we could do in a collaborative environment, I feel like, that might redefine the way we're even thinking. Like, we might just be thinking to physical space and not if we were just digital beings interacting with one another. How would we do that in the most effective way possible? If we never were in a room together, how would we do it?
There's a cool program on the iPad where you can kind of do that. It takes your actual writing and turns it to text. And it takes your like bad trapezoids and makes them trapezoids.
Nice.
You have to be kind of okay at drawing like a trapezoid or like writing an A or an R correctly so that it recognizes it. I think it would be a fantastic evolution. The only challenge I can really see in that is, somebody's going to be like, I don't like that purple you're using. Can we use a different purple for that bottom trapezoid color? Or should the bottom of the funnel really be red? Like,
yeah, but I mean, I get that, but you know what? I'll bet.
The reason we use lorem ipsum and squares.
I bet anyone on this call, it would not be able to recognize. I would not recognize my hieroglyphics of writings because I can't even recognize them most of the time. Listen, we're up on time. Allie, thank you so much for scaring
This has been a riot
out of us.
Thanks, Allie.
As to all the things that are possibly going to get hacked in your home. So if your smart refrigerator is shooting ice cubes out, thank Allie. That's just her saying hello. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Next week we have, and you stay home and stay safe. Next week we have a packed agenda. We have Z Hoffman, our good friend who's on the call from Distilled. She'll be here on Monday. I'm still trying to fill a slot for Tuesday. So if someone knows a great guest, please by all means direct message me. Join the LinkedIn group. That's the best way to reach me right now. I'm all over that thing, just like getting messages left and right. We have Ian Laurie, former founder of Portent Media, if you know them, out in Seattle. Amazing dude, great storyteller. Can't wait to have him on. Greg Gifford will be here on Thursday. If you haven't seen Greg speak, you probably haven't been to a conference because he speaks at about 50 conferences a year. No joke, around the world. Amazing local SEO, like pretty much the king of local SEO when I think about it. And then I don't know how many people might know this dude, but this dude with a strange name, Rond Fishkin. Rond Fishkin should be joining us. Rand, Lee's making a weird face. Yeah, I never heard of Rand Fishkin. Rand Fishkin will be joining us from SparkToro, telling us everything he's seeing in the space. He actually just published an interesting 3 waves thing that I'm going to post on the group as well. So we got a lot of homework to do. We got a lot of posting to do on the group. Please continue to action in there. Be nice to your friends in there. Give them a thumbs up. Give them a nice comment. Let's get that place engaging in the meantime. We're working hard to make it valuable for you guys. Please give us feedback. Love having you all on. Be safe. Be with family. Unplug for a little bit. Unplugging never mattered more than it does now. So the hypocrite on the call will say, unplug. Thank you guys so much. And we'll be searching from home with you next week. All the best.
Bye, Stephan. Thank you all.